All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order, and I'm going to bang the gavel, probably the only time I will do this. Okay, we are officially in session. We will start with the call to order, which was that, and now the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and if the clerk will call the roll.
Supervisor Johnson.
Here.
Supervisor Johnson is here. Supervisor Pat Breslin.
Here.
Pat Breslin is here. Supervisor Headland.
Here.
Supervisor Headland is here. Supervisor Score. Supervisor Score is here. Supervisor Steen.
Here.
Supervisor Steen is here. Supervisor Zons. I thought he was on. We'll come back. Supervisor Gary Bjork. Supervisor Gary Bjork is here. Supervisor Wilsey. Supervisor Wilsey is here. Supervisor Quinn. Supervisor Quinn is here. Supervisor Rogers. Supervisor Rogers is here. Supervisor Witzel. Supervisor Witzel is here. Supervisor Kinnear.
Here.
Supervisor Kinnear is here. Supervisor Barrier. Supervisor Barrier is here. Supervisor Calabrese. Supervisor Calabrese is here. Supervisor Keeter. Supervisor Keeter is here. Supervisor Vogel. Supervisor Vogel is here. Supervisor Sean Breslin.
Here.
Supervisor Sean Breslin is here. Supervisor Vandermeulen. Supervisor Vandermeulen is here. Supervisor Robinson. Supervisor Robinson is here. Supervisor Morehouse. Supervisor Morehouse is here. Supervisor Hagan. Supervisor Hagan is here. Supervisor Thomas. Supervisor Thomas is here. Supervisor Prochnow. Supervisor Prochnow is here. Supervisor Gilbert. Supervisor Gilbert is here. Supervisor Larry Bjork. Supervisor Larry Bjork is here. Supervisor Bauer. Supervisor Bauer is here. Supervisor Lenow. Supervisor Lenow is here. Supervisor Hartung. Supervisor Hartung is here. Chair McCullough.
Here.
Chair McCullough is here. Did we ever get Supervisor Zons?
If he,
If he joins, I'll make a note of it.
He's now coming back in.
okay,
He was in and then he was out and now he's back in.
if he vanishes again, he is excused, but he's trying to be here.
Like tied up.
There you go. On to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion? Supervisor Steen and Supervisor Larry Bjork, seconds. Any speaking to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Minutes are approved. Presentations of petitions, memorials, and other communications. Do we have anything? All right. On to public comments. Do we have anyone for public comments? It does not look like it.
There were no public comments submitted online.
Okay, going once, going twice. Appointments. The list is long. And you have it before you. If someone would like to make a motion to approve the appointments that need board approval, that would be Supervisor Steen makes the motion, Supervisor Morehouse seconds. Any speaking to the appointments? Supervisor Headland.
Under Supervisor Vaughn Hetland appointed to the committee, there's again missing off the first name.
Ah,
So that's fine.
we will get that corrected.
We'll get that corrected. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of the appointments list?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Report of the county manager. Nick, over to you.
Ready for go. First is purchase orders over $40,000. We have two of them to report this evening. These are both from the Highway Department. The first one, purchase order to Santander Bank for $100,000. This is a loan payment for international quad truck lease. We had a capital lease payment for the 5 international quad trucks that the Highway Department started utilizing in 2020. This is year 3 of 5 for the lease payments. The county has the option of keeping the trucks when the lease is complete or looking at trading in the trucks and leasing again. The second to Vermeer brush chipper, or for Vermeer brush chipper, I'm guessing, $67,288. The Highway Department purchased a Vermeer wood chipper to replace a 1990 wood chipper that they had. With the current age of the wood chippers and the maintenance costs to keep these running, the Highway Department needed a reliable machine for their tree cutting disposal activities. Are there any questions? I don't know if I can answer them beyond what I've said, but and second is the regarding the budget and the capital improvements plan. This evening, you have a resolution to approve the capital improvements plan for 2023 through 2027. Dunn County has a 5-year rolling capital improvements plan that is reviewed every year to try to keep track of upcoming things that of a substantial cost, whether it's property assets to use in our delivery of services or our buildings and properties. And we do this in order to prevent the spikes that occur when we don't take care of stuff. For example, the last year, the roof in the Judicial Center was replaced. It was leaking. We're anticipating at some point this year to replace the roof on the Highway Department building because the roof is leaking. These are all problems that could lead to greater costs down the road if they're not attended to. And so anyway, at our workshop in March, the county board put forward a recommendation for the capital improvements plan for the next 5 years, and it includes giving priority to the ARPA funds that are available to the county. And so that's reflected in the spreadsheets that our CFO has prepared. It accounts for 2 particular items that were subject to some discussion. A testing program that's kind of starting up or will be starting up sometime here in the future for the Conservation Division, and also some fans in some large fans to move air in the fair buildings. And so I think, that process is underway. We'll continue to monitor it, make sure that expenses, if they change, we may need to make some adjustments, and if we have to bring those back, we will. As far as the budget, the regular budget goes, the budget materials were released into the wild. They were sent out to the departments on, I believe, May 6th. And so we are not very far along in that process yet. Departments are still working on, establishing or calculating or determining their operating expenses. They've been asked to keep those with a 0% increase. It's not always possible, but as a starting point, I think it's a very good one. The initial budget also includes, as I think kind of a demonstrative place filler, or it's important to show the impacts on the budget of employee wages and benefits. We are anticipating a possibility of perhaps a 5% increase in costs for health insurance. It might be less. I've been told that some of our initial reports look pretty good, but we're only a couple, we're only 1/4 into the year. And so utilization of our health insurance, we're self-insured. So utilization of our health insurance is something that's going to be still dynamic and subject to change as the year goes on. We did include initially a 3.5% lift within the pay grid and a movement of a step for employees. I hope that we can maintain some or all of that, but it's important to discuss it. Our pay grid, too many times in the past, our pay grid has been, it hasn't been taken care of the way it should be. The big changes in the workforce just generally in the past few years have put us in a position of needing to attend to that a little more. In order to be competitive, to get good people, in order to retain good people, we have to stay competitive with what's going on out there. Government isn't the same as the private sector. However, we do have some considerations that we need to have in our minds when we're doing this. I don't know, I'm the interim county manager. And I'm starting this process and I'm approaching this with some ideas that I have in mind in order to make it easier and more informative for the county board to review the budget as we go forward. So I've asked the department heads, or I've directed them to keep operational costs to a 0% increase. I've directed them to provide detailed justification for new staff requests, new employee requests. And so I think my vision is that Dunn County will provide necessary service within the limits of available resources and statutory authority. We will protect the financial reserves, our general fund, our savings account, our bank account, at a level that will assure both our citizens and our creditors that Dunn County's financial status is solid and stable. It improves our credit rating when we issue debt. And it's a resource for us. If some disaster strikes, we may need to dip into it, and we want to make sure there's something there. So department heads are keeping costs down everywhere they can. They're going to look for revenue sources that we may not have considered before. Some of those may come in the form of fees or something like that. I haven't told them yet, but I am going to try to develop some mechanism for having department heads providing some additional detail about the services and service programs that they have in their departments. I think that this will give the county board a better information upon which to evaluate what we're doing at the county, what we're doing, who we're helping with the services that we deliver, how each program is funded, whether it's a revenue from fees or grants or the tax levy. And I just think it'll make it easier for this group to parse through everything and discuss it as we move along in the budget process. And again, continuing to be proactive with planning for capital expenditures. We don't want to neglect important assets in order to fund programs. And borrowing isn't irresponsible when it comes to ideas like that to fund important assets, capital projects. We have the ability to pay debt back And we have to take care of the assets that we have. And so that we don't end up having to, like, as I said earlier, the spikes. So we don't borrow anything this year, and then next year we have to borrow a lot in order to fix a building that's collapsed, or, I'm an attorney, so doomsday is always working its way into my analysis. But anyway, that's my report. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them, or our CFO is here. She may be able to come up and answer questions if there are any. We will be keeping you updated on how things are going. We're anticipating that the initial budget proposals from departments will be in by the end of the month.
We have Supervisor Steen.
Yes, Mr. Lang, being that we've had quite a bit of turnover on our personnel, a lot of longtime employees have left and they will be replaced, I should imagine, by younger people. Well, do you think that'll have a positive effect on our medical expenditures?
From an expertise standpoint, I couldn't say. It seems like a logical, conclusion. But I mean, that presumes that new employees will be younger. We review all applications and based our hiring on qualifications and, aptitude and skill sets and so forth. So I think that's the theory of how insurance works. If everybody pays in, everybody gets something back. Some get more, some get less. But it's all based on need.
Supervisor Calabrese.
Mr. Lang.
Yes, sir.
Could you give a brief update about the search for a new county manager? Not that I'm trying to boot you out of the role, but just people might want to know.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
The county manager recruitment began early in May. A subcommittee, I guess, consisting of the board chair, the board vice chair, the committee on administration chair, and human resources staff have gotten together and developed a plan that includes a timetable. And I think applications are, we have the ability now to cast a much wider net administering recruitment on our own. And so I think applications, the application period ends on May 31st. And I think there's going to be a period of time where applications are reviewed and candidates who would be invited for interview will be decided upon. And then I can't remember the dates. What is it?
June 27th.
June 27th. Yes. Some interviews, I think that's a Monday. Interviews will be held. There's going to be some additional consideration for the possibility of a reception and meeting with the candidates at some stage in the interview process, either before or after. If there are enough candidates, there may be a reception and then followed the next day by second interviews of the leading candidates. HR director has been tentatively filled by Jenna Nutter, who is an employee of the county. Human services is still underway. They've done some interviews, and I think there will be more activity in the next week or so for second interviews or something like that. And then I have hired an assistant corporation counsel who will be starting work on June 1st. Those are the big ones that I know about.
Anyone else? All right. On to reports of departments, and you've all gotten the reports in your packets. In general, the way we've been doing this the last year or two is to have the appropriate head come up and answer any questions on the assumption that you have done your homework. I know that I have this time.
Good evening. I'm Josila Liberty, Child Support Director, and I'm happy to say this is my first in-person county board meeting in 22 months. So you have my report. Does anyone have any questions?
It looks like you might be off the hook.
Maybe.
Supervisor Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josie, I don't have a question. I just have a comment. Love those graphics.
Oh, thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank you.
Supervisor Lino.
Yes, I just have one question. It kind of, stood out on my mind. It was on page 7 regarding the FFY 2019 data. The first line there, it says 23,580 new paternities established in that year. I'm understanding that correct, right?
In Wisconsin in 2019, not Dunn County.
Not Dunn County. Okay, because I saw that figure there of
Yeah.
280,000
Yeah.
in the state. And so I was just a little confused as to,
Yep. So if you look up at the heading on page 7, it's statewide program impacts on Wisconsin.
okay.
And so this is data that's, I don't compile it, it's provided to me, but yeah, we did 23,580 new paternity actions in 2019 as a state. And during the life of our program, over 280,000 Wisconsin children have had legal parenthood established.
And breaking that down on a countywide basis, what approximately would be that number?
Oh, that's a stumper.
Oh, sorry.
So we can, the data that I have prepared in the report is for 2021. And so our paternity establishment rate in a county, and it doesn't break it down by number, it's a percentage. So what they do is they take the number of children who needed paternity established at the end of the fiscal year 2020,
Okay,
and compare that to the number of children who had paternity established in 2021. And so you can end up actually over 100%. So in 2021, we were at 108.52%, which beat the state average of 98.44. So last year in 2021, I'm just trying to find my notes. One second. Okay, so it's on page 4. We filed 69 new court actions, and of those, 27 were paternity actions. And we administered 103 genetic tests. So that's could be a mother, a potential father, and a child, multiple children, multiple potential fathers, but it totaled out to 103. And then we also submitted through our office 31 voluntary paternity acknowledgements. So those are parents who admitted paternity without having to have testing to do so. There's 27 paternity actions and there's only one child per action. So for sure, there's 27 right there, plus 31.
okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
The numbers kind of sent me for a loop. 'Cause when I saw that 23,000, and then I thought to myself, wait a minute, there's a total of 45,000 people in the county, so
So
where are we going? That's all.
I did look into this last year. Wisconsin is on the same track as the national average, that 40% of children are actually born to unwed mothers. So there's a lot of paternity work that needs to be done to establish that legal parentage.
Wow, that's quite a number.
Wow. Supervisor Bauer, and then Supervisor Larry Bjork.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a comment. That was a very good report. I mean, reading through it, it took me a while, but very good, very detailed. I got a question on, or maybe you can answer on, you were making $6.98 for every dollar spent on the 4D program in 2020.
Which
Is that
page
an
are you-
average for that year?
Which page are you looking at?
29.
Wait, 20. Oh, on my report, do you know which page it is?
Yeah, 20, page 29. I think it.
Page
Of the
10.
packet.
Oh, the packet.
Sorry.
Yeah, so that's 20 out of the packet, so right down at the bottom of the page here.
Okay, I'm just looking. Okay, so this is where Wisconsin ranks
page 7.
nationally. So our cost-effective ratio is for every, well, and hold on a second. In Wisconsin, for every $1 spent to administer our program, our operating costs and all of that, we're able to collect $6.98 in support. Wisconsin as a whole, it's in preliminary in 2021 was $6.43, which ranked 10th in the nation for cost effectiveness.
That's pretty much an average for the last few years, or?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if you bring in more staff, the ratio is going to change, but we've been pretty steady.
Thank you.
Supervisor Larry Bjork.
My goes on green. Oh, there we go. I guess I'd just like to mention, for the sake of new board members, that this way of providing information from our county employees, it used to be a presentation that they would give, and I would learn a lot more about who they are and what they do when a presentation is given, instead of a number of pages that come in the packet that I may read and maybe not read, and it's hard to follow. So if we ever change back to that, I would say that'd be a good idea. And if I don't think the idea of a county board meeting should be to make sure we get done on the right time. The information of a county, the role of a county board meeting should be that county supervisors get to know a little bit about the people that work for them. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, like number one, how long have you been with Dunn County? What are you most proud of? How many people work for you? And what trends do you see continuing in the future that have changed from the past?
Oh, I should have brought a pen so I could have wrote those
Well,
down.
I still got them.
All right. So I have worked in the 4D child support program since September of 2004. So that will be 18 years this coming fall. I have been the director in Dunn County since August of 2020. So 22 months.
And what are you most proud of? And what would you like to see improve in your department? And how many people do you have work for you?
Sure. So when fully staffed, I have myself, 4 case specialists, a program assistant, and a legal secretary. So that is 7, including myself. What am I most proud of? I am proud of the team that I currently have. There has been sort of a revolving door of vacancies and, long-term staff retiring. So it sort of seems like we're in a constant state of transition, and transition is hard because the people that are left have to carry the weight of that until hopefully we can have a positive, successful recruitment. And I tell people when they start working for me, it will take you 2 to 3 years to feel like you are confident in that what you're doing in this job. Nobody goes to school to work in the child support program. It is unlike any other program. And it's not comparable to anything else. And so some people come in and it's not what they thought, and they leave. And if it's not a good fit, that's fine. But until we get, people who are committed to the program stay for a very long time. 2 Dunn County employees off the top of my head, Jeannie Stevenson, my predecessor, worked for Dunn County for 49 years. Sue Mork retired last June with almost 40 years. And I'll have over 40 years when I leave. So I'm proud of the resilience of the team that I have, and their ability to work through the stress that we're constantly under. We're always doing more with less, And the performance numbers that are detailed in my report dictate our reimbursements and our funding. So there's a lot of pressure.
Thank you. You're holding up very good for 40 years.
Yeah.
Thank you for your report.
Any further questions? Supervisor Rogers?
To follow up on that, $6.90, it costs us $1 for every $6.93 we bring in.
1 sec.
Page 7.
I'm looking. Okay, so that's that's federal fiscal year 2020 data. Are you looking at the bullet points in the upper
I
part
was
of the
looking at
report?
line 2 up top, or line 3 where
Line
it's-
3,
where it says it.
right.
for
So
every- it costs
essentially
you
what,
$1.
yeah, what that point is supposed to bring home is that we are a very cost-effective program. For every dollar that the, tax levy, state GPR, federal reimbursement, all the money they invest to operate our program, and that's salary and fringe, that's printers, that's paper, that's whatever. For every dollar spent, we collect $6.98 in support. So Dunn County, we're not a huge county in the state. And I think if I look at the data, we're not one of the richest counties in the state either. And we brought in $5.4 million in child support last year that went directly into our community for people to have in, their wallets to spend.
Doesn't that seem like an expensive overhead on that? You're talking a pretty high percentage of cost to collect that $7.
Well, we rank 10th in the state. So that means there's many, many states that spend more money to administer their programs to collect that same amount of child support. Thank you.
That looks like it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Register of Deeds. Always good to see you. Has.
Good evening. I'm Heather Kuhn, your Register of Deeds. I've worked for the county for 25 years, 16 as the Deputy Register of Deeds and 9 as the Register of Deeds. And you have my report. Do you have any questions?
Supervisor Quinn.
Thank you, Heather. This has been a busy year. Can you talk about how busy this is relative to other years we've had?
Yeah, so as you all know, the real estate market was crazy with low interest rates, sales, the high value of property. This is the highest amount that we've received as many years as I've been in the office. With total gross receipted was over $1 million. And yeah, that was, so, we're recording mortgages. So for every refinance, we get the mortgage and then maybe a satisfaction document. So it's mortgages, satisfactions. And then we're also recording the new deeds, then the deeds that transfer ownership. So it was very busy.
Supervisor Gary Bjork. Oh, Quinn, Tom, did you have a?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Could you tell the county board of your department how you actually put money back into the county fund balance? Which is kind of nice.
Yeah, so the majority of our fees are set by statute. So, a large share of the fees that we collect go back to the state. So we probably keep about 1/3 of the fees that we collect. So fees could be from copy fees, recording fees. For every document that's recorded, it's $30 to record a document. Purchasing vital records, so vital record copy fees. And then one of the largest fees would be the transfer fee. So anytime there's a sale in the county and the deed is recorded, you have to pay a transfer tax of $3 per thousand based on the value of the property. So not only do we collect the $30 recording fee, we also collect that transfer fee that goes along with every sale. And then, of course, we collect the total fee and then we share with the state. The county gets 20% and the state gets 80%. So.
Supervisor Larry Bjork.
Can't resist. I have to ask, your position is a countywide elected position, right?
Correct.
Can you tell us, because I don't know, why is that elected and versus other departments?
Well, our office it's a constitutional office, so it was set by, the state constitution many years ago, obviously. I don't even have the date, but I feel that our position in my office, we're protecting the records of the people of the county. So, your vital records, your real property records. So, we provide customer service to the constituents, and that's who we answer to, I guess, is to the people. As to why it's that way, that's the way it's always been, set up in the Constitution. So.
Name on the ballot.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Got to remember to check the online folks too. That looks like it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Veteran Service Office.
Great. Oh, Jessica's here.
Jessica. I had the same moment.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jessica Stark. I'm the benefits specialist with the Veteran Service Office. Typically you see Greg. He had a death in the family, so he's attending a funeral tonight. So I'm here in his place, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Supervisor Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Stark, I wonder if you could tell the committee, given the $24 million in veterans benefits that returns to Dunn County, how those funds are spent? Give us just sort of an idea
actually,
of
where they're
what
coming
those
from.
funds are used for.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that chart in 2021 at the bottom, it does show the 24,332,000, and that's broken into different categories. So first being the compensation and pension. So if a veteran files a disability claim saying that they sustained an injury or they've got a lasting effect from their time in service, they can file a claim with the VA to be compensated for that long-term effect. Those disability payments are made on a percentage basis. So the VA will say, well, we damaged you 10%, so we're going to award you $152 per month. It goes all the way up to 100%, which is a little over $3,000 per month. So that's, and pension is an income-based program. So the VA wants veterans to make a certain amount of money each year after they've paid their medical expenses. If they don't make that amount, the VA is going to backfill and make sure they're always whole at that amount. So that compensation and pension, what we're bringing in, or what our work is helping contribute to, is 13 million, or a little over 13 million. Education, Voc Rehab, those are payments that go to the colleges within our county. So there's among the post 9/11 GI Bill. I know there's Voc Rehab programs, and then there's dependent benefits too that dependents can use to attend colleges as well. Insurance and indemnities, I believe those are survivors benefits. So there's a dependency and indemnity compensation that goes to a surviving spouse of a veteran that was 100% disabled at their time of death. So that's why the number is a little bit smaller, because there's not as many there. And then medical care are unique patients. So that's the amount of medical dollars. So whether they're using those funds towards the VA Medical Center, or they're using within the community care through the Mission Act. And then it shows that there's 937 veterans using the VA healthcare system within our county. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
libraries. And at the request of the library board, this will be a little bit more like our older model for people coming up and telling us a little bit about what they do. The library report is traditionally one of the more fun ones that we've had, so.
I hope we can sustain that.
Now you got this.
I have your slideshow up over here to, I guess, supervisors, you're right. If you look over there on one of the two large screens, and just let me know when you need to advance a slide.
Okay, you can go right away. I'm Ginny Jolson. I'm the director of the Boyceville Public Library. I have worked there for 20 years. And it just so happens one of the things that I'm most proud of is kind of what I was going to talk about today, is the value of libraries and like community connections. It's just so important in our small towns or everywhere. It's the public place where you can go and you can meet people for free. You know, you don't have to be buying a cup of coffee or doing anything. And here we just have a couple of pictures. During the pandemic, we put up a story walk outside as we were trying to do things outside. And same with our summer reading program. That's 1st through 6th grade kids that come together. And if there are new kids in town for the summer, they oftentimes meet friends there that they will then go to school with and not feel like such a stranger on that first day of school. That's really nice to watch. Okay, can advance, please. Also, when we have new babies come to our library, we welcome them with a Born to Read t-shirt. And on the bottom of that is our logo too that you can't quite see. And then we encourage families right away to sign up for our 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program, where like we just get to make connections. They come in after they've read 100, they get a sticker and they get a free book that they get to keep. So at the end, they will have 10 books in their homes. And, you know, each time they come in, we ooh and ah over what a good job they did, and they get stickers and they learn to love coming to the library. Also, then we hope they will start coming to story time when they're of the age. So that third picture down was our outdoor story time. And that is one of my favorite times of watching people make connections. Lots of new families will come in and they don't know anyone in town. And so you'll have young parents making friends with other parents, and then kids also just making friends before, again, they head off to school. This year, I had the pleasure of watching 2 kids go to prom who met at story time. I mean, you could just see at story time that this was going to last. So I just, it's so cute, so cute. What else do I have down there? Oh yeah, the last, during the pandemic, we tried to just stay connected to people by doing all sorts of take home craft and science and all sorts of kits that at least we could sort of come and keep seeing us and keep visiting. So that's what that one is. Do I have another one? I can't remember now. And we also, we do have a wonderful staff, although the woman holding up the picture, Marguerite, retired last year after 35 years. So that's been a big change for us. She was a great resource. But I feel like we all make everybody feel really welcome and like it's your library, you know, it's no longer a shush, it's come in, this, we all, you know, have a part in this library and the atmosphere. And yeah, we like to make people feel at home. So also in 2022, we are talking about a new building project, and we have the support of our village board for maybe the first time that we have talked about it. So we're excited about that. We could really use to expand. As I look at the background of that picture, yeah, there's like so much stuff back there. We need elbow room. So any questions for me?
Supervisor Headland.
Thank you. Jenny, one of the things that you talked about expanding, we need room for, in your summer reading program, maybe you could just let the people know how crowded that summer reading program is.
Yeah, I mean, we would like to top it out at 50 because that's just like all we can handle. And it's now that we know that building codes exist after COVID and how many people we are supposed to have in our buildings, that's bad. But yeah, we get more than 50 kids for the summer and we could use more room. Definitely. And just kind of more room for that socializing. You know, we really don't have sort of a comfortable place to sit like in Menominee around the edges of the chairs. And, you know, if you just, we don't really have a place to have a cup of coffee in Boyceville. it'd be nice to have a little comfortable space there where adults can come as well. So, yeah. Anything else? All right, next.
I think that's me. I'm Lisa Bragg Hurlbert, and I'm the director of Colfax Public Library. And, as a representative of one of the small libraries in the county, I just wanted to emphasize how important we are to our rural municipalities. And they really appreciate us, trust us. And I think we're, for them, a good example of their tax dollars for work in a positive way right there in their communities. We get to share fun moments with them, but we also strive to provide useful services. And, so I think a good library is like a good school in a community. We are an asset. People we're one of the first places that people new to town come visit. And, we feel like we're kind of ambassadors for the community when we meet new people. So I think we provide a real value. And I just want to make sure that, everyone, new people included, understand that. You can turn the slide. We actually had a phenomenal year. COVID was hard, we had to be flexible. We had to change how we did things. But even in 2020, when we were operating with COVID going on, our checkouts had gone up. And they did again, in 2019, they went up again in 2020. So I looked into that a little bit. And we have actually had our highest checkouts in 20 years in 2020. And most of that is children's materials. Families, I think the whole COVID experience really got them wanting to enrich their kids' lives because things were so limited. So a lot of them delved into reading. And, we've really been riding that, just enjoying making relationships with those families. People have also really discovered, the benefits. We have free Wi-Fi we offer the community in the area of our building. We had hotspots for checkout to help, make that access for everybody. And also we provide a lot of technical assistance for senior citizens, having trouble operating the technology. We're always, friendly and helpful. And we bring people into the municipality too from, the surrounding townships. So it's good for the local business. You can turn the slide.
Next slide.
And it all comes down to our quality staff. We have really good people, libraries, that's not a high paying job, but we who are in it just love it. And I'm really proud that we have some very long-term staff. The two on the left have worked with libraries for a long time. And then the two on the right, they have master's degrees. They're very intelligent, educated people, but they love what they do for us. They have, other jobs too, because they're part-time, but I'm really proud that we can keep such quality staff, bringing dynamic people into the community. And, I want to mention too that we're committed to working in partnership with different organizations in the community, but also we're your conduit, to the people in our communities. If the county has information that they want to, share with people, we know those people and we can help you, deliver that message. So those were just the points that I wanted to make. Do you have any questions or? things for me in particular. Otherwise, I'll move on to Shelley.
I'm Shelley Ray, and I'm the director at Sand Creek C.H. Johnson Library. And we are the smallest library, 840 square feet. Our community varies a lot in its makeup. We have a lot of retired people. Right now, there are not a whole lot of kids in our area, but we still are trying. We participated in the collaboration for the youth program. It was an online program. And we had young adults come in. There's this picture there of the spooky science. So we would have kits made up that kids could come in and get when they signed up for the program. And then they joined by computer from their home or wherever they happened to be and could participate. And that was a lot of fun. Last year, we had just over 6,400 checkouts, which when you consider our service population is less than 500, I don't think that's too bad, especially with COVID and being shut down. We did offer curbside pickups. Both we would take it out and set it so people could pick it up outside. And we have a hallway where we would put their books together or their items together and set them there, and they could come into the entryway and pick up. We also participated in the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, and that's a lot of fun to see the kids come in, bring in their papers, and get to pick out a book from our selection that they can have. We have Wi-Fi also, and there's been a lot of times when I pull into work in the morning and I'll see somebody sitting on a bench or sitting in the parking lot and using the Wi-Fi. We're also working right now on getting a computer program installed that will allow patrons to send an item or anything that they would like to our printer and have it printed out for them so they could just come in and pick it up. That's something new that we're trying again also. So I think, unless there's any questions. Thank you.
Oh, is that the first slide, really? Yes. Okay. Hi, I'm Jolene Stirk. I am the director at the Menominee Public Library. I just almost have completed a full year as director, but I have worked there for about 16 years. And I'm not going to rehash everything that my colleagues have already told you about the wonderful aspects of library service, but I'd like to say that we do have something for everybody. From kids programming to Tech Tuesdays, where we're working with people one-on-one with their technology questions, collaborating with community partners like with Health Done Right and with the city and the Community Foundation to get a story walk together. And then a state level collaboration, not collaboration, but something that we all purchase is access to Badger Link. And I just knocked the socks off of some of the guys from the city when we were in our most recent city meeting. How many of you know that, and I don't mean to be, that way, but how many of you know that you can just look for wiring diagrams for your automobiles or small motors online through the library website? Well, of course you do. Yeah, but thanks to Badger Link, we have that access. Thanks to Badger Link, we can do ancestry and genealogic searches. We have access to newspapers digitally, not just the Dunn County News, but all sorts of newspapers. If you want to stay abreast of what's going on in the world. Next slide. But as Lisa and the others have pointed out, our greatest asset really is our staff. We have some very long-serving, really talented people who excel at different aspects of their job, whether it's connecting with kids, connecting with seniors, understanding how to make our tech work, how to communicate with the community, how to work with other organizations, really dedicated, smart, awesome people. So that's what I am proudest of, I think. And fun, they're a little bit of fun. We have a concert series that's become a bit of a tradition in Menominee. Music Over Menominee is coming back for its 12th season of free live music featuring 10 local artists or bands. Thursdays, 7 p.m. You're all invited to come on down to the library lawn, and it's sponsored by the Friends of the Library, not tax dollars. We couldn't afford to do this, but it's a great asset for the community. So bring a beverage and come on down. But this is something that I thought you as a county board would find interesting. When you look at, I ran these reports for all of Dunn County for the past year. So I went from April of 21 through May of 22. When you look at card holders on the left image, we're looking by basically generations. And yeah, there's a lot of people from the 26 to 40 age range that have cards, but there's also a lot of kids under the age of 5 or 6 that have cards that are using them. And when we look at what kinds of materials are getting checked out in Dunn County, the vast majority is book format. People do check out DVDs, they're checking out large print and board books and graphic novels, but people still love books. They still love print. And while we were able to provide access during the pandemic with digital resources, people are coming back and saying, I really kind of prefer print, which has been great. And even though Menominee is the largest community in Dunn County that has a library, it's the people in rural areas. Like I was one of those rural kids that are accessing our materials, our services. You look at the graph on the right. Yeah, there are other libraries that utilize our materials. The second step up is Boyceville, Colfax, Elk Mound, and Sand Creek's total circ all put together. City of Menominee is the third one over, but you look at by far the largest number of people that are borrowing and participating in using libraries live outside of the city limits. So they're making those trips into these libraries to use our resources because they find them helpful. We are doing a fair bit with digital checkout and with wireless access. It's all about access. And I saw the coolest thing. I think that's the last slide, but let's just take a double check. Yeah, the coolest thing that I saw today was something that I could not bring tonight, but it's from the Stout Traveling Library Collection. We are going on almost 150 years of library service in Dunn County, 150 years. And James Stout had the foresight to put together these boxes. I don't know if he built them himself or made some of his, people do it. Yeah. But they were in post offices, they were at railroad stations, they were in people's homes, all over Dunn County. Yeah, and there's one at the Rossbach Museum too. It's part of their display of these boxes that were all over the county back in the day in the late 1800s. So libraries have been around for a very long time. We hope they will stay around for another 150 years. And it's the work that you do and the support that you provide us is what allows us to do all of these wonderful things. So thank you very much. And please keep funding us at 100% because we really, really need your support.
Supervisor Steen.
Yes, I'd like to thank you ladies for the work that you do. I know all four of you try to make the libraries a welcoming place for the people to come where they can get information regarding almost anything in Dunn County. And as an aside, I think reading is the key to education. So thank you so much.
It's our pleasure.
Supervisor Larry Bjork.
Thank you for coming again. And I do really remember your passionate presentation a year ago when we were talking about funding libraries at 100%. You presented that very, very well. But I can't remember in my mind what the statute part of it is. Aren't statutely, does someone know on what libraries have to be funded at? Or
at 70%. So when we present our figures to you, this is a bill. We're asking for reimbursement for services that were provided already. And you are only statutorily obligated to reimburse us at 70%. But because of the efforts of Jim Anderson and several of the supervisors that are among us tonight, you've decided to fund at 100%.
Thank you. And, an important thing that I had never considered previously, and I'm thinking in Elk Mound in particular, when I see the building that's going on, between Elk Mound and Eau Claire, and how the Elk Mound Library, all the situation where we draw patrons from other counties. This idea that young families with kids would have a chance to meet other kids in the community at the library is just a tremendous thing. And it's something I had never considered, and I'm sure glad you talked about it today.
And I would just add to that when you're looking at funding, the libraries in Dunn County cost a whole lot less to operate than the libraries in Chippewa and Eau Claire County. So if we can keep ourselves serving our communities better, then they won't have to go to these other places.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. All right. On to the next item on the agenda, which is the consideration of resolutions, reports, and ordinances from the standing committees. We will start with the Highway Committee, the ordinance amending section 7.51 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the vehicle registration fee. This is the second reading. It was introduced at the last county board meeting. Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With your permission, I would ask Highway Commissioner Bender to address the board and explain the vehicle registration fee, what it can be used for within the Highway Department, and the approximate revenue it will generate per year.
Without any objection? All right, Dustin.
Well, good evening, everybody. As everybody is aware, I'm the Highway Commissioner for the Dunn County Highway Department. Officially took the position here in March. So I am new to the commissioner position, but I have been with Dunn County for approximately 14 years at the Highway Department. So the vehicle registration fee is basically a $20 fee in Dunn County that has been initiated since 2020. And we've asked basically to continue this without the sunset clause that is currently implemented. The vehicle registration fee can be utilized for transportation purposes only, including construction costs, winter maintenance costs, any type of maintenance costs such as shouldering, chip sealing, crack filling, all those. So since I guess the full year that we had in 2020, it had generated approximately $737,000 is what has been generated with the $20 vehicle registration fee. That's based on approximately 36,000 vehicles within Dunn County, and vehicles that are registered for 8,000 pounds or less. So that is basically any type of vehicle that most of us drive here, excluding semis, dump trucks, any type of municipal vehicles, anything like that. It's something we need in Dunn County. Obviously, transportation funding has decreased. We have stayed pretty stagnant with the gas tax in Dunn County or in the state of Wisconsin. It has not been increased since 2006. That is just, like I said, this is something we need. The costs of construction, asphalt materials, any type of transportation materials, equipment costs have exponentially increased in the the past year even. For instance, the price of asphalt from last year to this year has been increased by $10 per ton, which adds up significantly when we're doing approximately 20,000 30,000 tons of material. That accounts for approximately only 8 to 12 miles of roadway each year that we are currently doing in Dunn County. Like I said, we need to do something to help generate some type of funding to help offset the increased costs dramatically that we're seeing, and we don't foresee it going down anytime soon. So, any questions, concerns?
Supervisor Bauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I read through the vehicle registration that was sent out earlier. You're limited at 8,000 pounds. Is that a state statute that we're following, or is that a limit that the county had set?
That's Wisconsin state
Statute or something? Yeah.
Yep.
I kind of read that in the statutes. I went through them all, but it's kind of confusing when you look at them all.
Yep.
Thanks.
Supervisor Barrier.
I had a question for my constituent that I thought was good that you might want to speak on. They were wondering, the deteriorating roadways, is this becoming a safety concern, or is the desire to get a little more money and fix them up? Is that more of an aesthetic thing? Because it's kind of annoying to drive on bumpy roads. Can you speak to that?
So basically, we do both. We do have safety concerns that we are trying to improve. Basically, ADT values, which is the average daily traffic, which if we see a significant amount of traffic, we have to build a road to Wisconsin standards. So we do put money into that. A lot of the money that we do try to improve those safety improvements comes from a lot of 80-20 match, which the Wisconsin DOT puts in 80%, and the county matches local match with the 20%. It's not guaranteed. We apply for it every year. It's something we may get, but it's something that usually doesn't happen. So, so yes, we do need to obviously improve some of those roadways, but right now, a lot of our funding is going to these dilapidated roads that nobody wants to drive on, and they're 40+ years old. The issue we have in Dunn County is we stick all of our money into those dilapidated roads, and unfortunately, we are not improving the roads that should be, where we could just pulverize and relay them. We are sticking all of our money into the roads that are 40 to 60 years old right now, just to try to keep up, and fortunately, we're not. So.
Thank you.
Supervisor Larry Bjork.
I got two questions from my neighbors, and we're very fortunate that County Trunk E runs past us, and the work was done on it a few years ago. And it's a fantastic road, and brings a lot of traffic from Eau Claire to Menominee for work. But the questions that have been asked of me is, didn't the highway department, get like first $3 million off of the ARPA funds that came into the county? And how come there's such a continued need? And number two, with that $20, what does that buy? What does $700,000 buy? And then thirdly, if $20 is a good fee to ask the taxpayers to have better roads, why don't we ask for 40 or 50? So that was kind of, kind of a sarcastic comment on the $20. But what does $700,000 buy, and how were the ARPA funds used?
So I guess to answer the current tax registration fee is basically utilized in our general highway transportation. So it could be utilized, like I said, for overcosts if we have winter maintenance. So right now it's not specifically set for construction or maintenance. It can be utilized, and what we have utilized in the past is for those needs. Our highway budget has been decreased. We have seen less levy. We are seeing increased costs. Basically, right now, ARPA funds are backfilling our needs, and we are not improving it like we would want. We would love to basically do 25 miles of roads each year, but it's not realistic currently. I will tell everybody here, I am concerned once those ARPA funds are gone, highway is going to be in a very, very dark place. So.
I will insert my nose here as the former chair of the Highway Committee and note that we had been steadily increasing our time to replace roads the entire time I had been on the Highway Committee. The vehicle registration fee brought it down from ridiculous to still not good enough.
Yeah, right now, we're at 42.5-year cycle for a roadway.
And the recommended is
20 years.
Any more questions? Supervisor Wilsey.
Thank you. When I was out talking to people, I would say the most people in my district are upset about the wheel tax. They don't see it being utilized. The one question I got as I was talking to Representative Moses, and he says nobody's approached him about asking for additional funds from the state. He says he would welcome that conversation and look at more funds for roads. I don't know, is that something you've done or talked to him about?
All 72 counties are requesting additional funds for transportation use, but like I said, there is BIL funding, which is a bipartisan infrastructure law that has been passed recently. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of that, but there is billions of dollars that is coming to transportation. The issue is we have to apply for it, and it's not guaranteed. We're not the only other county that's needing more for highway transportation.
Yeah, and I can also, I will speak to Supervisor, to Representative Moses' comment. He's been invited to our legislative agenda meeting every year since he was elected. And I know as the person who was asking him about that question has been asked.
Okay.
Supervisor Steen, and then Supervisor Lino, and then Supervisor Headland, I believe.
Dustin, that program we were just talking about, is that the 80-20?
Yes,
yeah.
that is an 80-20 match.
And that means that we'd have to cough up 20% to be participating in it, right?
Correct.
And
we are struggling to get the 20% match.
Yeah, I understand that. Now, I was just reading on this information sheet that the county manager sent out that we use about the cost of asphalt's $55.24 a ton. And an average year, Dunn County uses 42,000 tons of asphalt, which I just rounded it down to 55 cents, which is $2,310,000. So in answer to Supervisor Bjork's question, the wheel tax generates about 1/3 of what we'd need for that much asphalt use in a year. Is that a fair approximation?
So basically, if we would put the vehicle registration fee towards asphalt purchase, it would account for approximately 3.5 miles worth of roads. So right now it's costing $200,000 per mile to do a regular pulverize and repave. And I would like to add, in 2005, if the data that's in there, our entire highway budget was approximately $12 million. We are at approximately 14.5 right now, and costs have gone up exponentially. Just the price of asphalt from 2005 to 2022 is 132% increase.
Supervisor Lino.
Yeah, I have a quick question. You had said that the expected funding life of our highways, you said is 42 years. Was that correct?
Currently, when we're doing 8 to 12 miles of road per year, we have 425 miles of roads in Dunn County. So simple math is 425 divided by 10 roughly for an average. So it's 42.5 years.
So if we were to cut that by in half to like a 20-year life cycle, cycle, that would essentially double our highway expense here at this particular time.
We would have to do approximately 25 to 30 miles per year.
Is there anything from the state that would allow us to improve our township county roads? Is there any type of pending legislation out there that's on the horizon, possible gas tax increase or?
It's discussed every year and nothing ever gets adjusted. Like I said, we do apply for every grant, every type of state funding, federal funding we can. I'm just going to throw an example out there, County Road B project that we are going to be doing next year in 2023. The 4 lanes of County Road B from 1229 to Anderson Windows, just north of the railroad tracks. Just that 1.25 mile stretch of road is estimated at $10 million right now. We have to pay 20% of that. So we're doing everything we can at the highway level to try to generate this funding. Like I said, it's not guaranteed, and we try everything we can.
So to my estimation, a 40-year-old highway starts out with blacktop and it's like a gravel road by the time you're done at the end of 42 years. Am I assuming what would happen to that asphalt?
Today's asphalt products don't last as long as they did.
So what is the lifespan of an asphalt road?
Right now, 20 years.
20 years. And
Correct.
we've got it budgeted for 42.
42.5, yep.
I commend you at keeping them up to the level that they are.
Supervisor Headland.
Yeah, and I guess my question was based on the same thing that his was, is in terms of how many actual miles. I couldn't remember how many actual miles of county roads, so thank you.
Anyone else? Supervisor Rogers.
So I guess I am okay with the wheel tax under the assumption of a couple of ways of looking at it. We can pay more in property taxes, or we can pay a wheel tax. The wheel tax goes only toward the highway and it doesn't get absorbed into the general fund. I don't like the tax by any means. I would like to see us spend a lot more money, but when it comes to highway, we're drastically under budget and we need to address it. So I do support the wheel tax, even though I don't really want to.
Thank you, Supervisor Rogers. Any more speaking? I guess we are ready to vote. Oh, Supervisor Johnson.
I'm sorry, I'd like to make one more comment. If the ordinance passes as amended, the committee has asked Commissioner Binder to report on this every year annually, what it's spent, how much they got the year before. So just want to let everyone know.
Supervisor Larry Bjork.
Point of order, wouldn't you need a motion for this?
The motion and the second were when it was introduced at the last meeting. This is the second reading because it's an ordinance.
Well, then I'd like to have it be a roll call vote, please.
Certainly. I don't see anything else. Dustin, you're off the hook, and it's roll call vote.
Supervisor Larry Bjork. Supervisor Larry Bjork votes no. Supervisor Pat Breslin.
No.
Supervisor Pat Breslin votes no. Supervisor Sean Breslin.
No.
Supervisor Sean Breslin votes no. Supervisor Calabrese. Supervisor Calabrese votes yes. Supervisor Gilbert. Supervisor Gilbert votes yes. Supervisor Hagan. Supervisor Hagan votes yes. Supervisor Hartung. Supervisor Hartung votes yes. Supervisor Headland.
Yes.
Supervisor Headland votes yes. Supervisor Johnson.
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson votes yes. Supervisor Kinnear.
Yes.
Supervisor Kinnear votes yes. Supervisor Keeter.
Yes.
Supervisor Keeter votes yes. Supervisor Leno. Supervisor Leno votes yes. Supervisor Morehouse. Supervisor Morehouse votes yes. Supervisor Prochnow. Supervisor Prochnow votes yes. Supervisor Quinn. Supervisor Quinn votes yes. Supervisor Robinson. Supervisor Robinson votes yes. Supervisor Rogers. Supervisor Rogers votes yes. Supervisor Score. Supervisor Score votes no. Supervisor Steen. Supervisor Steen votes yes. Supervisor Thomas. Supervisor Thomas votes yes. Supervisor Vandermeulen. Supervisor Vandermeulen votes yes. Supervisor Vogel. Supervisor Vogel votes yes. Supervisor Wilsey. Supervisor Wilsey votes no. Supervisor Witzel. Supervisor Witzel votes no. Supervisor Zons.
Supervisor Zons has indicated through the Zoom chat that he votes yes. I can bring that up.
Okay. Perfect. Supervisor Bauer. Supervisor Bauer votes yes. Supervisor Barrier. Supervisor Barrier votes yes. Supervisor Gary Bjork. Supervisor Gary Bjork votes yes. Chair McCullough.
Yes.
Chair McCullough votes yes. That passes.
All right, motion passes. On to Committee on Administration, resolution amending the wage grid and the inventory of job classifications. Do I have a motion in a second? Supervisor Headland for the motion. Supervisor Lena for the second, speaking to the motion. Supervisor Headland, you.
I'll try. Anyway, this is something's been included in your packet. There's a number of pages to this resolution. It's really two parts. One of the part of the is amending job classifications, and job classifications are something that we try to address annually if possible, and especially if we do a wage study program like we have in this past year. And you'll see all of those were detailed in the report, and as to why most of these are either asked for by a department head or by an employee that works for the department for justification for basically the duties as they change and evolve. We make adjustments to sometimes it's just a matter of a title, other times it's something that fits better in terms of how that job itself has evolved. The other part of it is there are some numbers going along with that. And that is that after we do this, the wage study, there is a time period in which people can ask to appeal the amount of wages being paid for a specific job or job level. And those are heard, and then adjustments have been offered to settle these appeals. And again, those are all very detailed as to, who was asked. You have a chart. The detailed items are in red on those charts as to what adjustments are being made. And then the total fact here is that if we vote to do this, it is estimated to be about a gross wage impact is about $25,937 for all the adjusted positions for the whole year. That is the upswing in terms of money, but if you also note that there are some money that we actually are saving. IT has changed their actually, I'm going to call it staff grid. where they are actually asking for reducing some positions to a different position. And that's going to reduce their budget by around $23,000. So it's up and down, it's back and forth, but the thing is, that the net result is it's going to slightly increase the budget amount of the budget that's being paid to the positions if we do go ahead and adjust them. And so like I said, it's two parts. It's really you're approving the part that is the change of the classifications, and it's also improving the change in pay for some of those positions. And if you know, some of the positions actually are going to be stagnant because it was found that they were, according to a wage classification study, were being paid at the top level for those types of positions. So those people we're not going to cut them back. We're just going to keep level for another year.
Yeah, and the appeals process was always part of the intended plan for the wage and step adjustments.
Yeah. That's it. Unless there's questions that we can try to answer.
Any questions? Supervisor Barrier.
My understanding is there's one position where there's a reduction in the pay grade associated with it. And I want to understand this because that's significant. So it seems like for the person who is currently holding that position, I'm reading that their wage is going to stay the same, that it's not going to be decreased.
Right, yeah, and where most of that comes in, and we can talk to IT if they can explain it more, but is the fact that they're taking a look at the people that are working in the department and saying at one point we had somebody in this position that was considered to be a higher level of pay and need for, that. But because of the realignment of things with the new director there, he said, we don't need to fill that position anymore. And so we have an opening, that position isn't gonna get it filled. But what we do need is somebody down here who that pay would be much less for. So we're not really cutting anybody. It's just a matter of through that classification of positions needed, we're gonna reduce, and so if you have nobody there, you don't fill it, but we are gonna fill, they would fill a lower position that they do have a desire to fill.
Okay.
So we're not, good question. We're not really gonna take somebody and say, sorry, but you're gonna work this job now.
Okay, I think I understand. And then I had one more probably related question. So it sounds like one of the positions requires further review. It's saying, and so I'm just not understanding. So if it's still under review, it looks like we're trying to approve a change right now. And so I'm not understanding how these are relating to each other, right?
County manager.
The position that is identified as requiring further review has been reviewed. It was mingled in, as part of the classification and compensation study project that was undertaken last year. It lasted several months, resulting in a new wage grid, and part of that process was appeals. And so a number of employees, let me see if I can drill in. We had 20 requests from employees or their supervisors for reconsideration of the classification placement in the pay grid. One position was identified as requiring further review by the consultant, that there was no appeal undertaken. It was simply reviewed because additional information had come to light. Maybe some of the job requirements had changed in the interim, and so it's just identified as one of the grid placements, if you will, that was reviewed. It just didn't come up in the form of an appeal. It was just reviewed by the consultant as a matter of course because of additional information. But all of the reviews that are merged, anything that's merged into this resolution and the outcome, the reviews have been final. There are a couple of positions, I think, that there has been some additional consideration for. They're not complete yet, and they're not in this document.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Looks like we're ready to vote on this one. So the resolution amending the wage grid and inventory of job classifications. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Executive Committee, Ordinance amending Chapter 2 regarding legislative committee and duties of vice chair. And this is the second reading, so like with the vehicle registration fee, it was introduced at the previous meeting. Any speaking to the legislative committees and duties of vice chair? I think that Jim Tripp did an admirable job letting us know what it was all about last time, but if anyone has questions or would like to continue the debate, now is the time to do that. All right, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Resolution approving FY 2022 budget adjustments. This is a pretty typical bookkeeping exercise that we do as grants come in and we need to adjust for them. You will see a lot of these over the years. Nick, do you want to speak to it at all, or?
I can, I'm trying to find it here. We received, that's why your county board packets came out a little later than I wanted. We received 6 budget adjustment resolutions from 6 different committees. And in order to cut time off from the county board's work here tonight, I've integrated them into one resolution, and we have, I'm trying to find it. We have the sheriff's department, the health department, the human services department, the criminal justice collaborating division, neighbors of Dunn County, and highway. These are all, as is explained in the resolution, these are all funded by additional revenues that had not been anticipated. So they're coming through contract, for example, in the highway department, some maintenance contracts that are coming up will bring revenue in and offset the work that's done. There was a donation to the sheriff's department and to the neighbors of Dunn County. Each of them received donations. And then I think the rest of the revenue and expenditures are all grant funds that are received and then utilized for a corresponding program that the grant funds are linked to. And I wanted to, I spruced it up a little bit so that you could see the individual totals for each department and then the total amount. It's pretty rare that we have 6 at one time. So I just wanted to give you a little more information. The total amount is $1,070,929.12. And again, this does not impact levy. It doesn't impact the general fund. These are all outside sources of revenue that will be coming in and used for the programs that are there. And those are all kind of addressed or explained in the bottom of the resolution.
So I would need a motion in a second. Supervisor Morehouse moves. Supervisor Robinson seconds. Any questions or comments? I believe this is roll call, is it
Roll
not?
call requires 2/3.
Supervisor Larry Bjork.
Nick,
Yes.
I guess it seems phenomenal to me that it adds up and the disbursements are exactly the same dollar amount. So all this is telling me basically is that these departments received money from outside sources, and they're saying we're going to spend it on X and we're going to spend the exact same amount. Is that what it's saying?
Yes.
Yep.
Not exceeding that. For example, the sheriff's DARE program expenditure, I think the DARE program probably costs more than $1,090, but that's what they received. And so they're going to apply it. They received that from I can't remember, Pheasants Forever, maybe. That's what they're going to spend it on. So it's going to be added to the cost, to the account line for the DARE program. And it's going to be considered revenue in and expenditure for the DARE program in the same amount.
Okay, just one more follow-up. So when you asked each one of these departments and other departments in the county to present to you a zero increase budget, this goes into that zero increase budget. If
No.
we're receiving more money from the outside, is the county on the hook for less or what?
If the grant funds aren't received, the expenditures aren't made. If the donations aren't received, the expenditures will not be made. And the direction was to keep operating costs at a 0% over, last year's budget. It's a starting point but it's the best one we can do. I suppose, aside from asking them to reduce it by 5% or 50% or 80% or whatever. And so it isn't a directive to not change the budget. It's simply a starting point for the work that they have to do to make the most efficient use of taxpayer dollars to deliver the services that we need to deliver here.
This is essentially a bookkeeping exercise. Grants have been applied for to do a specific thing. We get the grant as the supervising body, then we have to authorize them to spend the monies from the grant. So
this is a time period of what, 1 year that these grants were applied for and received?
Not all of them. Some programs, for example, the Criminal Justice Collaboration Division program it's to deliver medication treatment therapies to jail inmates who would otherwise not be able to have them. It runs beyond the end of the year. And so they will carry forward the funds that they have, that they received from this grant program that aren't expended in this fiscal year. They'll carry them forward into next year. And the program, when the money, for example, when the money stops, there isn't any authorization to utilize any other funds for it, because this is the revenue for this particular program, and the expenditure is limited by the scope of the grant. So they apply for grants for a specific program, they get it, and that's what they have to use for it. And the decision as to whether that should continue on without grant funds is a decision that you might make next year. It could be, though, that it won't be asked for. It's an opportunity to expand services.
Okay, it's a bookkeeping exercise. I guess that's why.
It is. The only alternative would be to just have money coming into departments and not having any mechanism to track it. We have to show it as a revenue. It has a source and a purpose, and we have to show it as an expense. It has a purpose and an account that's associated with that purpose. And so it's just a good fiscal practice to amend the budget to reflect increases unanticipated revenues and the programs that are associated with them.
And for newer supervisors, this is an action that we will see multiple times throughout the course of the year. It's at least a couple of times.
It's very rare that budget amendments are not based on receipt of unanticipated receipt of grant funds or donations or contract revenues.
Any further speaking to the resolution? All right, seeing none, roll call vote.
Supervisor Pat Breslin. Supervisor Pat Breslin votes yay. Supervisor Sean Breslin. Supervisor Sean Breslin votes yes. Supervisor Calabrese. Supervisor Calabrese votes yes. Supervisor Gilbert. Supervisor Gilbert votes yes. Supervisor Hagan. Supervisor Hagan votes yes. Supervisor Hartung. Supervisor Hartung votes yes. Supervisor Headland. Supervisor Headland votes yes. Supervisor Johnson. Supervisor Johnson votes yes. Supervisor Kinnear.
Yes.
Supervisor Kinnear votes yes. Supervisor Keeter.
Yes.
Supervisor Keeter votes yes. Supervisor Leno. Supervisor Leno votes yes. Supervisor Morehouse. Supervisor Morehouse votes yes. Supervisor Prochnow. Supervisor Prochnow votes yes. Supervisor Quinn. Supervisor Quinn votes yes. Supervisor Robinson. Supervisor Robinson votes yes. Supervisor Rogers. Supervisor Rogers votes yes. Supervisor Score. Supervisor Score votes yes. Supervisor Steen. Supervisor Steen votes yes. Supervisor Thomas. Supervisor Thomas votes yes. Supervisor Vandermeulen. Supervisor Vandermeulen votes yes. Supervisor Vogel. Supervisor Vogel votes yes. Supervisor Wilsey. Supervisor Wilsey votes yes. Supervisor Witzel. Supervisor Witzel votes yes. Supervisor Zons.
Supervisor Zons has indicated to me in the chat, although now he sent it to me instead of the county board participant, and so I can't bring it up on the screen, but he indicates that he votes yes. And if you'd like me to have the board chair confirm that, just for record keeping purposes.
It's always good to have a lawyer. Look at that. Supervisor Bauer. Supervisor Bauer votes yes. Supervisor Barrier. Supervisor Barrier votes yes. Supervisor Gary Bjork. Supervisor Gary Bjork votes yes. Supervisor Larry Bjork. Supervisor Larry Bjork votes yes. Chair McCullough.
Yes.
Chair McCullough votes yes. That passes.
All right. Supervisor Robinson, did you have a? Okay, your light was on, so just wanted to check. On to the C3, resolution adopting fiscal year 2023 through 2027 capital improvements plan. And this will have been the plan as it was discussed at the large board workshop. And Nick addressed it, I think, pretty thoroughly in his county manager's report. Does anyone have any further questions or comments at this time? All right, seeing none, we will. Or did I miss one?
No, we have a motion.
Motions.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay, sorry.
Seeing none. Motion by Supervisor Headland, second by Supervisor Robinson. Lena was a close third. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. D, Planning Resources and Development Committee, rezone ordinance, Idella Ridge, Town of Menominee. I would love to get a motion. Supervisor Quinn, do I have a second? Supervisor Morehouse, speaking to the motion, Supervisor Quinn.
I apologize. Usually we provide a map of zoning changes, but we've had a lot of illness on the staff for the past couple of weeks, so maybe an oversight. But this property is north of Menominee, the town of Menominee. And it's pretty straightforward. Developer wishes to build, I think, 46 or 50 lots, single family housing, currently zoned commercial. And in order to do that, it would have to be rezoned to residential. And that's what he's asking. The town board has reviewed this and they have approved it. And our committee has also reviewed and approved it.
Any questions? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And that takes us through the end of the bulk of the business to the announcements. So the first of those is, it has been the tradition of the county board to have a sunshine fund, which provides for coffee and treats at the back of the room And if the meeting goes particularly long, we will often take a brief intermission to partake of those treats. But normally what that is all the supervisors kick in $5. The clerk keeps track of it, make sure the treats arrive. When the clerk runs out of money, we all kick in $5 again. So.
And the reason there are no treats is there are $3.29 in the fund. So I figured saltines might not be everyone's game tonight.
Well, and
So
I have to note that Supervisor Rogers very generously kicked in a little bit ahead of time in a larger amount, which was part of what the treats were funded for the first meeting. Supervisor Quinn.
So this fund is used to, when we provide memorials for funerals and things like that. Is that correct? So I don't know if $5 is enough, but I think we always did more, didn't we?
I'm happy to take as much money as you've got on you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you certainly, no one will be will be.
Anyway, that's an additional purpose. That's good use of the money.
Thank you for
that's
supplying
true.
that, Tom. I don't think that I remembered that. Supervisor Steen, you had an announcement?
Yes, the Mark Deach family of the town of Grant is hosting the Dunn County Dairy Breakfast the second Saturday of June. And I thought I'd announce that, so make you all aware of that. It's a good opportunity to have some good food, meet some people. So.
And you get to eat ice cream for breakfast.
Always a good plan. If no one else has any critically important announcements.
I have one.
Oh.
If you need a per diem sheet, they are in the back. If you have any to turn in, please get those in. Payroll is next Friday. So I'll get those processed on Monday. Also, I need to see Supervisor Headland and Quinn for signatures.
Alrighty.
And you'll note in the agenda, I accidentally listed the next meeting as today. It's not going to be today. It'll be in June on the I meant to have that up. 15th?
Yep.
Yes,
15th.
June 15th will be your next meeting. I apologize.
All right. That is it. We are adjourned. Thank you all.